Breaking news this evening for the Chargers. The Ravens treating them Odafe Oweh, their former first-round pick, for Alohi Gilman. This is a steal for the Chargers that could pay major dividends for the team as long as Khalil Mack is out. This is something that could potentially change the entire Charger season. What's up, everyone? I'm Sam Peña, a Bolt fan in the Berg for Chargers Digest, where we talk about all things Lightning. The last couple of videos on this channel have, well, not exactly been the best of times for the Chargers. It's been a rough string of losses and also rough play all around from the team. But finally, a bit of good news here on the horizon for the Chargers. Seemingly a pass rush now that Khalil Mack, who is out for the next few weeks, is being somewhat replaced, at least for now, by Oweh. Once Mack returns, the Chargers should have a decent trio of pass rushers between Oweh, Mack, and Tuipulotu. This is something the Chargers desperately need right now, and Joe Hortiz listened to all of our concerns and is making the moves to make the Chargers compete. So I want to talk a little bit about just why the Ravens traded Oweh away, what he can bring to the Chargers, and what this pass rush is going to look like now for the future of the season. So let's talk about it. I think the first thing we have to do is just go over the basics of this deal itself. It was reported this afternoon by Adam Schefter. The details are the Chargers are trading away Alohi Gilman and a 2026 fifth-round pick. That makes me a little bit sad, given the Chargers' recent run of luck when it comes to those fifth-round picks. In return, they're receiving the seventh-round pick that the Ravens got from the Rams and, of course, receiving Odafe Oweh. This is a player who has been a little bit underrated, I think, right now in his time in the league. Oweh was taken in the first round by the Ravens at the end of the first round with the 31st pick. He's someone who is very, very athletic. It shows on tape the moment you put it on. And he's someone who has consistently improved year to year. When you take a look at why the Chargers did this move, it's obvious. Khalil Mack's injury, where he popped his elbow out, made it clear that the Chargers needed to be able to bring in someone who could rush the passer on the other side of Tuipulotu. And this is exactly what Oweh is going to do. He's going to fill that role, replace some of the production that the Chargers lost with Mack. When you look at right now who Oweh is as a player, he has 34 tackles last year, 9 tackles for loss with 23 quarterback hits and 10 sacks. Always great when you see a player with double-digit sacks on a season. It's very difficult for anyone to get to double-digit sacks. It doesn't just happen magically. This is someone who has consistently worked to be able to improve his game. He was seen as a very raw prospect coming out of Penn State with a lot of athleticism, but not a lot of technique. We've slowly started to see that develop. You can give a lot of that credit, obviously, to the Ravens. They have one of the best coaching staffs out there in the entire league. Looking at the constant improvements that we saw from Oweh, his rookie year, he only had a 12% pass rush win rate. That's something that's really not going to cut it at the next level. But then the very next year, he took a big jump going up to 18% on the season. And then last year, he settled in at about 16.5, which is where he seems to be that seems to be where he's going to be at for the majority of his career. And that's a solid pass rusher in the NFL. It's not someone who's going to command TJ Watt money, but it is someone who can provide a constant threat on the field. Think of someone like Brandon Graham for the Eagles. He was always in and around that number. He would win regularly. He would consistently get to the quarterback and be a threat on the field, even though he was never the best pass rusher or one of the 5 best pass rushers in all of football, which kind of makes sense why the Ravens traded him away. They were looking for someone to bring a veteran presence to that secondary. They got that in Gilman. On the flip side, they were kind of looking to be able to offload some of the costs that they might be accruing over the next year, given that this is Oweh's contract year. And they probably didn't want to give him a ton of money, so it makes sense why they would send him to the Chargers, who have enough cap space where if they like what they see out of him this season, they could potentially re-sign him moving forward. But for right now, the Chargers absolutely need what Oweh can bring to the table. He had a breakout season in 2024, like I mentioned, with that 16.4 pass rush win rate and 55 pressures. That 55 pressures is a very important number because that's something the Chargers have been missing so far this season. They just can't get to the quarterback at the moment. When you look at the 115 rushers in the league right now, Odafe Oweh is 28th in pass rush win rate at about 17%. That's huge for the Chargers because they don't have anyone anywhere near there outside of Tuipulotu. Right now, Bud Dupree and Caleb Murphy are 106th and 111th on that list. That is not sustainable in the league. they're playing behind third and fourth string players in terms of production. That's not going to cut it in the NFL. When you look at the numbers right now, Tuipulotu has 27 pressures in the season. Deshaun Hand has 8. Deion Henley 7. Bud Dupree and Caleb Murphy combined have 12 pressures on the season. They have less than half of Tuipulotu's total pressures on the season and 5 fewer than Odafe Oweh has on the season so far as well. Joe Hortiz noticed that. Joe Hortiz realized that could not be sustained over the course of the season, which is why he made this move. And when you look at the type of rusher that Odafe Oweh is, he's someone who can consistently get around the edge to the quarterback, which is what the Chargers are looking for right now. Caleb Murphy is a bit more of a power rusher, as is Tuipulotu as well. They don't really have someone who can kind of bend the edge, and that's something that Odafe Oweh can do very well. I am a little bit concerned, though, when it comes to his run defense. These are just the raw PFF grades, and I'll be honest, I haven't done a lot of film study when it comes to Odafe Oweh, when it comes to his run defense. But what I have read, at least from some of the Ravens people who I trust on social media and also some of the analytics people, they're telling me that apparently he struggles to be able to set a consistent edge in the running game. I don't think you're going to be seeing a lot of plays of him on first or second down. They're probably going to want to stick with Caleb Murphy just because he knows the system a little bit better. Although even Caleb Murphy is someone who has really struggled to be able to set the edge as well. That's an area that I'm really hoping Khalil Mack will bring some life to when he comes back. In addition to being one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, Khalil Mack is a great run defender. Odafe Oweh is not going to be fixing that problem for the Chargers, but he is going to provide much more pass rush upside for the Bolts moving forward. You look, as I mentioned, on his RAS score. This is the score that he had combining his entire athletic testing numbers from the Combine and his pro days. First of all, first thing that jumps out to you is that's a lot of green. But then you just go down the list. A 4.37 40-yard dash is insane for a player of his height and his weight. You don't see people who are around that height and weight run a 4.37 40. I mean, we're talking about Calvin Johnson type numbers out there, and Calvin Johnson was a receiver. So being able to bring that sort of life to your pass rush is crucial in the league, especially as these offensive tackles get more and more athletic by the day. And the Chargers face some pretty good tackles in their own division. Colton Miller is someone who has consistently improved for the Raiders, and now he's a solid left tackle. Garrett Bowles has been excellent right now for the Denver Broncos. And then you look on over at the Kansas City Chiefs. They just drafted Josh Simmons. He's someone who has a lot of talent and a lot of potential. And so far, he's played very well for the Chiefs as a left tackle. If the Chargers are looking forward to the future, they need someone who's going to be able to consistently be able to challenge those players along the edge. I don't know if Odafe Oweh is going to be that, but at the very least, he's someone who can be a serviceable talent that the Chargers can bring in there. Now, in return, the Chargers did have to part ways, unfortunately, with our guy, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Alohi Gilman. Alohi Gilman has been a veteran for the Chargers. He's someone who's been on the team for quite some time. I know that people are happy about this decision. I'm a little bit sad about this. I think Gilman has gotten a lot of flack recently just because he's given up some big deep shots down the middle of the field. But Gilman is a good player. And I think Chargers fans need to be appreciative of the skill set that he did bring to the team. He's someone who consistently was in the right position. He made a number of very important turnovers and pass breakups in the secondary for the Chargers over the past couple seasons. He's a good player, and I'm going to be sad to see him go. But this move makes sense because the Chargers didn't need another safety. There was no reason to be playing Gilman over Elijah Molden. Molden's just a better safety. And then when you look at the depth, you have players like Tony Jefferson, who has been excellent for the Chargers, and even their young rookie R.J. Mickens, who has flashed multiple times for the Bolts. So when you're trying to make a move to be able to improve your team, and you look at an area where you're very strong, which is the secondary, you can afford to give up one of those players if it means you can bring in some life to a position that is weak. The edge room was incredibly weak for the Chargers. It showed big time against the Commanders and the Giants where they weren't able to get after the quarterback. Now, Jesse Minter has another puzzle piece to be able to play with here. Before, his only threat really was Tui Pelotu. Any of the pressures that the Chargers could get were schemed up. It's why players like Deion Henley had more pressures than Bud Dupree and Caleb Murphy, because Minter was scheming ways to be able to get Henley to the quarterback. Now he's got someone who's able to get to the quarterback without needing scheming, which means Minter's going to be able to have a little bit more freedom out of the pieces along that defensive line. And for the Ravens, listen, they've had a bad year so far as well. They're 1-4 on the year. They have a locker room that seems like it's about to explode. For them, this is a move that should be able to improve, at the very least, their communication and their veteran presence. Gilman is someone who immediately brought some calm to the Chargers secondary. I think he can bring that to the Ravens as well. I think this is going to end up being one of those rare win-win trades for both teams. I don't think either of these players is going to necessarily light the league on fire, but I do think these are difference makers for both teams. For Oweh, this is a chance for the Chargers to finally get back to that early season form and recapture some of that glory they were experiencing in the first 3 weeks of the season. That could be huge and pivotal and provide major implications for the Bolts down the line, especially with a team like Miami coming into town this week. It's going to be very important for the Bolts to establish dominance, which is why I think this move is an absolute steal for Joe Hortiz. Thank you all so much again for watching this video. Once again, I'm Sam Peña for Chargers Digest. We're really trying to build the channel here from the ground up. I would appreciate any love and support you guys can show to the channel if you could like and subscribe. Hopefully, we can get this channel up and going here and continue to provide this content for you.